Hello, good people. It is the truly beautiful and inspired teacher here to talk to you guys. Side note, someday I'm going to talk about personalities. Someday I'm going to talk about the difference between mean and stern. Someday I'm going to talk about respect and how that word means next to nothing. Someday I'm going to talk about elders, and so you guys can see my Angela post for a preview on what that's going to be like. But today you have a few moments to listen to me. What just happened? Sorry. To listen to me reminisce about this person. Sorry. Reminisce about poetry and kids and teaching. This is what I actually live for. This is the kind of thing that really inspired the truly beautiful and inspired teacher. This is the kind of thing that I got into teaching for. So you may or may not have already seen it. I will post it in the comments of this video. The flyer from a year ago today is what, March? Yeah, perfect. March 26th. A year ago, not 1 year, sorry, like 3 years ago today, my friend Amanda Kingston, because I have a lot of friends named Amanda, and I got together and decided we were going to host poetry workshops for students, spoken word and poetry workshops, because we believe that Oklahoma City has kids that should be able to go to Brave New Voices just like all the other cities that have kids that go to Brave New Voices. And so we had some planning sessions, and I'm gonna be straight up, like, she is way more organized than I am, and I was the creative force and she was the driving force. Not that I don't have any drive and that she's not creative, but like the role she was filling for me, because she's awesome, is the organizational role, because I couldn't pull it together at that time. And she's so awesome and she helped me. So we had, I want to say 4 or 5 sessions spread out over the course of about 18 months. And we had a lot of successes and a lot of life getting in the way of more successes. And I'm going to give you even some more backstory, not about that, because that season was great. But again, she was the organizational driving force. And so when I think she took a new position, and, when life got busier for her, that drops down on her priority list, which is completely understandable because it wasn't her dream, right? It was mine, and she was helping me with it. So, rewind back to my very first year out of school. I wasn't even an official teacher in the classroom. I started a poetry club at Star Spencer that, only lasted while I was there because they didn't give me a contract. So, I did that, entered the classroom in January, started poetry club in February or March. I think it was February. No, it was sooner than that. I might have started it in January because the kids who were in my poetry club did a thing for Black History Month. And then I left and actually did get a contract at US Grant. And at Grant, I started a poetry club after the teacher talent show in February, when the kids showed an interest. And so we did poetry club from February to May. They did not offer me another contract, and so that poetry club was gone too. I went to Millwood and I had a creative writing class, and so I didn't ever start an after school club because I had a class. Whether or not my creative writing class was useful for anybody is to be determined. My first year we had a lot of fun. My second year we had slightly less fun, but we read a novel. Does that make it better? I don't know. My third year, I want to say, is the year that Amanda and I started our outside of school poetry club. And so in December, I was talking to my friend, and we were discussing Poetry and Chill and the fact that they host kid workshops on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Northeast Center and at Douglas. And it was sad for me because I had to deal with the failure. I had to deal with the disappointment. I had to deal probably, I guess, with a little bit of ego, because it was like, I've had this idea for 7 years, and now the people who are not only doing it consistently, but like who are advertising it well and actually getting good attendance and putting on shows are people who don't need my help to do it. And it was a really interesting moment. And my friend was encouraging me and telling me, like, you're not less of a teacher or less passionate about your thing. Like, you could also, I've talked to Greg, and I know Crawford decently well, and Greg invited me to come hang out at their workshops, but I was really dealing with the like ego aspect of like, but this one's not mine. And like, because ours was at the Amanda's and mine was at the Northeast Center as well. And so I'm sure that what's the name of the organization? Don't remember the name of the organization or the police officer who runs it, Lieutenant Cuban. I'm sure Lieutenant Cuban wanted the program to continue. That's why he had us doing it the first time. So when he was offered, somebody else to do the same thing, he was like, yeah, great, let's do it, because it's always something that he wanted to do. So be consistent. So be excellent. Don't start stuff and not finish it, because then you'll end up in your feelings when somebody else does the thing that you were supposed to be doing. But I'm not even saying we're supposed to be doing, but the thing that you thought you were going to be doing. So shout out to Greg and Crawford and Poetry and Chill for making big moves. Shout out to you guys for being consistent. Shout out to you guys for having good advertising. And I hope that your kids do awesome. The reason I decided to go ahead and go live and talk about it right now is because I had another opportunity come back around. I want to say it was around 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that I first heard about Studio 222 and interviewed with the person and said, like, oh, I could teach a creative writing class, but didn't end up following through on it. Just kind of never wrote the plans, and then I was nervous. At the time, I was a very entrenched high school teacher, and Studio 222 serves primarily middle schoolers, and so I didn't know what to do with middle schoolers. This year, I was like, oh, middle school, I know how middle school works. I will totally be fine. But then I sort of forgot, / life just happened, / I wasn't sure if it was a thing that I wanted to really do. I was contacted, I think it was 1 week ago today, asking me if I wanted to start teaching the class yesterday. And I was like, do I? And then I was like, how many more times are you going to pass up this opportunity, Naja? How many more times? How many more times? How many more times are you going to start and stop this? How many more times are you going to say this is the thing that you can do and then not do it? Come on. So I said yes, even though I have a lot on my plate. I said yes. And yesterday was our first session, and it was so great. And I'm really excited for my second session this evening. And it is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way until the end of fourth quarter, until school's out for summer. And I'm excited. And I'm slightly nervous still, but shout out to Jen Sincero and the book You Are a Badass. Because whether or not this is good advice, somebody like me needed somebody to say, stop like waiting for all the right credentials or waiting for all the boxes to be checked off, and just apply for a job and then work hard at it. Like, instead of saying, oh, well, I don't have the experience to do this, or I don't have the resume to do that, I don't have the training, the education to do whatever, how about you just take the job and then get the training, like trial by fire? And that doesn't always work, but I think there's a lot to be said for that. And so that's partially what I'm doing. Not that I don't have the training, not that I don't have the capability, but I stopped waiting to feel ready and just was like, all right, I'm just going to go do it. And yesterday was great, and I expect it to continue being great. So just do it. I guess in terms of teacheriness, this episode was about combining your like passion and your reason for doing stuff. So Truly Beautiful and Inspired has to do with maintaining that inspiration. I think we should look for inspiration, but I don't think we should look for other people to inspire us. I think we need to look for ways to continuously inspire ourselves. And this is one of them, for me, is being able to teach poetry, spoken word to kids. Thanks, Aunt Pat. And I think that when you are searching for the beauty in everything, you sometimes have to look in other places. I think that it is important. Oh, I also contacted a teacher who may or may not be working with me at a high school I may or may not be at next year, because #OKCPS, who knows what's going on. And I was like, if we're working together next year, we have to do poetry out loud. And I'll talk more about that another day. But basically, I need to continue to push myself to find the beauty in kids and in the classroom, and sometimes we have to find creative ways to do that. Even with me teaching Studio 222, I think it's really important that I figure out how to offer this kind of thing to kids at school, even if it can't happen in the classroom, for it to happen somewhere. And so stay inspired, look for the beauty, and always tell the truth. That's a tag for another day. So I think that's all I have to say. Thanks for tuning in. Those of you who got tagged on to the end, please go back and watch the replay. Mark, you better be interested in what I'm saying. I'm just kidding. And I will tag the people that I mentioned. And I will see you guys out in these poetry streets. Send your kids either to Poetry and Chill, or if they live in the Taft area, sign them up for Studio 222 next year. Woot woot. Have a good afternoon, you guys.